Dave here with Half Dozen Customs. Today's Monte Monday. We are out here for a little Monte Monday action. As you can see, I got the motor pulled out, trans is out, engine hoist is out. Made sure everything was all wiped down. So we're gonna have to clean up that area. So, while everything's sitting here, Colleen's out running some errands, and she's coming back, and we're gonna attempt to put this motor in. Just taking some measurements. It's not going in right now. Maybe it'll go in later this evening. But I know that this, like, I guess if we can get the motor to sit in there and it fits between the firewall and whatnot, maybe we'll leave it sitting in there for today and then pull it back out next Monday. I don't know where we're gonna go with this, but just taking some quick measurements, like say from, like, I measured from like the lip on that firewall to here, and it looks like we will clear and be able to put the motor in. It's gonna be freaking close. But then I don't see any possible way of putting the trans in. There's just not enough room for the transmission to actually go in. So then I measured the transmission from the point of the top here down to the tail shaft, and it is 32 inches. I measured the transmission that came out, this is the V6, and that basically looks like a turbo 350, but from the research that I have done, it's not a turbo 350. It will not mount to a 350. I thought that maybe we had a good transmission here, because from what I've researched, this motor is possibly the same thing as a 350. It's just minus 2 cylinders, so everything should have bolted up. But the more I dug into it, the more that I don't think that is the case. But anyway, so I measured from the top point up here down to the end of the tail shaft, and it's like 29 and a half. So that means that I'm almost positive that we are going to have to move these motor mounts up 2.5 inches. So what we're gonna have to do, I have some 1/4 inch steel, or not 1/4 inch, I wish I had some 1/4 inch. I have some 1/8 inch steel plate here, and what we will have to do is basically I will make a plate that fits like this area here that we can bolt on, that is 2.5 inches longer, that we can then bolt these up. They need to be like up here. So, and we'll bolt the plates on, and then we'll get these mounted on, and we'll have to drill holes probably through the plate, through the frame, everything, and bolt it on. And like these 2 bolts will still be in the frame. They'll probably be over here somewhere. And then the extended 1/8 inch plate that comes out, we'll have to have the other 2 bolt holes up in the front there. And then, we'll have to, I'll probably end up, boxing them down kind of with a plate behind it that we will probably end up bolting like through here, just to make sure that we'll gusset it and plate it and make it so that we can mount the front half of that plate that we mount in there to the frame, so that way the engine, the front end of the engine mounts isn't just kind of dangling off of the frame rail with you know, an 1/8 inch steel plate. Now if we had like 1/4 inch steel plate, you know, I would have no issue with just using the plate, but since we don't have a 1/4 inch here, like I said, we'll gusset it and box it out, and then it'll get mounted to the front of the frame there. So I have a feeling that that's what's gonna end up happening here, but Colleen just got back, so I'm gonna check with her and see how she's doing, and we'll be back to attempt to put this motor in. But like I said, I don't think that it's, you know, this is probably just gonna be a test fit. I'm gonna take some measurements, we'll end up pulling it back out, so we'll be back. Okay, we're back over here at Monte Carlo. Colleen should be out here shortly. I did a little, after doing the measuring, and seeing that things just didn't seem to measure out, I decided to go on the U of tube and tried to see if anybody has done this on video before, and the closest thing that I could find was a V6 El Camino that they swapped out to a 350. So looking at the video, everything here looks the same, and they use the same motor mounts, but what they did was they actually had this here, and then this bottom hole down here hung off of the edge. So it looks like we need to unbolt these and move these forward, and then this third hole just hangs off over the edge. And they were able to put motor, transmission, headers, the whole 9 yards in without doing anything modification wise. So I'm going to attempt to pull those and see if we can move those forward. Like I said, it looked the same in the video, doesn't mean that it is. So let's see if we can move those forward, and then if everything works out, you know, we'll have to pull the motor again. But what I'll end up doing is we'll take some of that 1/8 inch plate, and we'll make a plate that hangs out a little farther, and 3 bolts will actually go through the cradle here, and then the 4th bolt will just bolt to this 1/8 inch plate that is sandwiched between everything. So the plate will be mounted to your cradle, and, you know, in between the motor mount and your cradle, and then your 4th hole will just be mounted to that plate. So that's not how they did it. They just used the 3 holes and said good enough. But I think me personally, I would like to have that at least 4th bolt bolted to something. So like I said, I think an 1/8 inch piece of plate in between, I think will do just fine. It's better than not having it at all. So let me get you guys set up, and we're going to attempt to move these motor mounts forward 1 hole, and hopefully it works. We'll see. Okay, so we got these pulled off, and what they did was, I think it's this bolt, and I think this bolt, or this bolt and this bolt, whatever, and then this slotted bolt here. So I'll show you guys kind of what we're going to be looking at. So on these motor mounts, these two holes and these two holes are different. These are farther apart. They're a wider set of holes than the ones on the bottom. So if you're having a problem with stuff lining up, you may want to, you know, flip your motor mount over. And so I've already held this up and everything lines up just like it should. But like I said, we don't have this third hole here that we can utilize. So that's where I'm thinking that we will make an 1/8 inch plate that goes down first that we can mount this over, and then we'll utilize all 4 holes using that 1/8 inch plate. And that 1/8 inch plate will just be held in place by sandwiching, you know, the motor mount to the actual cross member here. So I think that that'll work, but we will work on that at a later date. You know, like I said before, I don't think that this will be the last time that this goes in. Another thing that I would say, so we are able to get to the bottom of these bolts because I have the suspension out. If you're doing this with the suspension in, you have this slot here that you can reach in through with a wrench and get these top 2 bolts, and then the bottom bolt you will have to use an extension and go up through the spring to get everything. So, or to get that bottom bolt, I'm sorry. I dropped my bolt, it distracted me. Did you put the 2 long ones on the top? Just curious.
You didn't say there was different size bolts.
Yeah, there's 2 long ones and then a short one.
Where's the short one go?
Bottom.
Information that would have been useful.
Well, I thought she would have
earlier.
looked at the bolts that you were putting in and seen that there's 3 different.
No, I was listening to how you said you assembled it and watched what you were doing.
Can you take this wrench and go through here and see if you can snag on that bolt or go down from the bottom? Just it's just spinning. You can pull back on this.
On what? Need that. Sound effects for
there's a pump that hooks up to the compressor that'll do this for you. My deck don't like exercise. I already hurt myself putting that on there. So, I've mentioned it before that the alternator mounts down on the bottom of this one, and that the heads don't have the accessory holes in it, and that's part of the reason why the alternator is mounted down on the bottom. And I said that we had to order a new kit to move the alternator to the top because the power steering pump has to go on the bottom. Well, it's in the way of even putting the motor in, because power steering box is right there, or the gearbox, the steering gearbox is right there. So I gotta pull the alternator real quick, and then we should be able to drop this in.
Don't have one that's gonna work.
It's not. There's nothing wrong with this alternator. The alternator's supposed to be up here, not down there. Technically, it's supposed to be on that side. Yeah, there's a whole bracketry setup that we need for this. If you look up on that one, there's two holes up here, and that's for mounting like the alternator and all that stuff. We don't have that, so it's a special. It brings all bracketry set up here so that you have the holes in the brackets. So.
It was nice when it's down there out of the way.
Well, I knew that it wasn't going to stay there because we have the power steering's got to go down there. But I don't even think the power steering's going to be able to go there. I think the power steering's going to have to go on the bottom on that side, and then the alternator's going to have to go above it. Oh yeah, we can go down a level. You want me to do that and you hold the motor again? Because you crank that thing too hard, it's going to drop fast.
It sounds like you want me to hold the motor. Okay.
Bolt through this way, then washer on the other end, and then in.
Okay.
It's just I haven't come out the backside yet, but I can see it. It's right there.
It's a tighter fit over here.
Well, you know, it might be a good idea to, once we get this in, loosen these and let them settle, and then tighten them back up, and I bet we wouldn't have this issue next time. New piece of rubber hose. And we have gas line right there, ready to go.
You already repaired the tank, right?
No.
No, you dropped the tank. We need a new tank.
Yeah, we need.
Okay.
I mean, we could try and clean that tank out, but
Oh my god, you still have it? I thought you threw it out.
it's in the back of the blue truck.
Oh my god.
We may end up having to get a Holland-ducted hood on it.
No. You get a different air cleaner or you get a different carburetor. It's all gotta fit under the hood.
Well, there's a 3/4 inch spacer there.
Oh. That won't help. Yeah, that is a good accessible.
I'm all for a Holland-ducted hood.
I know what you're for. You have plenty of cars out there. I want it all under the hood and nobody will know.
Okay, so we got the motor in. I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. From here, now we'll have to see. Like, it looks like I can maybe put that alternator back on now that it's actually in there. So maybe we'll check that out and see if we can get that in there or not. The intake and carburetor and all that is sticking up way too high. We will not be able to put a stock hood on this, and she absolutely has to have a stock hood. So, you know, we're thinking it's got a riser plate between the intake and the carburetor. Removing that and then getting a thin, low profile air cleaner for it should get us under the stock hood. So we'll have to, I'll take some measurements of that. We'll have to do some research. Probably gonna get underneath, take some measurements to see where everything's gonna fit transmission wise, and not today, but probably next weekend, install the transmission so that we can check drive shaft fitment and all that stuff. Got to check header fitment. I have 2 different sets of headers. I have these, which are like super miniature, low profile headers. I think that those are probably the ones that are gonna fit in here because there's not a whole lot of room. And then I have a bigger set of headers. So we'll have to do some measuring and some checking and see which ones fit. They're both long tube headers, so we're not going to be running manifolds on this. It will be header. So yeah, we got some things to measure and check and fit and test fit and see what's going on, but it's in. I think it looks good. You know, we do have, you know, like I said, it looks like there might be enough room to fit that alternator in there now. You know, it's going to be close with the transmission. You know, that's why I said we're going to have to see. The one video that I watched, that they were doing this to an El Camino of the same era. They actually installed the transmission first and then did the motor, and slid the two together inside the car. So I don't know if there was a reasoning behind that or that's just the way that they did it, but we'll find out. So anyways, it's lunchtime for me, so I will be back out here later on, and we'll continue messing around with this. But the motor is in. Yay! We will see you guys in a bit. Next time it'll just be me. Colleen will be in the house, so we'll see you guys later.
Bye, Colleen.
Alright, well, we're back out here. I want to see if this alternator will go back on since we kind of have the motor in here. It is late at night. There's not much time left in the day. At the end of the day, I spend an hour on the project in the back. So we're probably going to see if this alternator fits, and see if it does or not. And then we'll probably put the core support back on. And I may throw the fenders back on. We just got a bunch of parts laying around for this thing, and I would like to put as much of the parts back on as we could to just kind of try and clean up the area. You know, I wouldn't mind putting the headers on, but they just look so bad. So I don't know, maybe over the next couple weeks, before it gets too cold, I may bring those outside and get them sandblasted, and just get some heat paint on them. I'm planning on, I would really like to send them in, have them blasted, and have them like jet coated, which is actual like a header coating from a powder coating company, so that they would be professionally done and not just burn off. But I'm planning on wrapping those with a header wrap anyways. But the flange that bolts to the motor would never get, you don't get a header wrap on that. So, I don't want that to burn off all the paint and then it just turn rusty later on. So I'm not quite sure what I want to do with those. They're probably just going to get sandblasted, get some header paint on them. I may actually just go and get the ceramic coating header paint from O'Reilly's and try it. But that'll be a little later on down the road. But I'd kind of like to start putting some of this stuff together. We still need to clean up the transmission. We need to get that painted and then get it installed in the car. The transmission mount, we need to, itchy nose. Need to grab the cross member out of the shed and see if it'll work with this transmission. And if so, we need to get that one cleaned up. We got to get the drive shaft out. That's got to get cleaned up. We are not going to be doing anything with the drive shaft. So if I put this transmission in and the drive shaft don't fit, we'll move the motor forward. It can't go backwards. So, but I believe that there's plenty of room to go forward with it. So if we go forward, if we have to, we can go forward with it just so that we can use a factory drive shaft and not have to send it into a drive shaft shop. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out, but that's the idea. So I'd like to start putting this thing back together and start, getting all these parts that we have laying around back on the vehicle. So. I don't remember how we had this. this went like that. That is not the bolt for that, but it's the only bolt I get here, and it's only been a couple hours since I've been on. So here we go. It's underneath my wrenches. Oh, you guys are not watching me. I don't think that this is gonna fit. I don't think that that's gonna fit. First of all, I can't remember how we had this on here. I should have took a picture of it before, but let me go back and look at the videos real quick and see if I can see how this was put on. Alright, I went back and I actually looked at the video and I got to see how this thing was on there, and there's no way it's not going to fit. Which I already knew that this wasn't going to be being used on here, but it's what came on the motor, and it was it worked. So right now I wasn't gonna fight with it. There is a setup. I mentioned it before, and I think I mentioned it recently. It may have even been this morning. I don't know. But these heads don't have accessory holes in them. So there is a bracketry system set up that I can purchase, that everything mounts from below. So everything mounts from below, that allows I'm sorry, I was just trying to figure that out. I'm being dumb. So there is a bracketry setup that there's like two bolt holes down here, and then I think I'm not positive, but I think it utilizes the power steering pump bolts as well. And there's a bracketry setup that mounts over here, and then there's one for over there, and it allows you to mount. I believe it puts your alternator up top instead of down below, and then it gives you power steering pump down over there, and it gives you AC up on the top. So I might have to look into that. If I remember correctly, last time I was looking into it, like, it wasn't super expensive. I think it was like $100 and something for it. And then I was also looking to like switch all this over to like an anodized black, and I was looking to go serpentine with it. So there's that whole setup that goes with this. So I was kind of looking at it before because I knew that it was something that we were going to have to do eventually. And then it was also something, this chrome is trash. It's all rusty, it's all pitted. So I was looking at stuff to replace these pulleys anyways. So it's just something that we're gonna have to figure out. And now that I have this apart, I remember now, like, this hole where this bolt goes, is oblonged and the block is actually cracked right there. Nothing that is causing any issues with anything, but it's all because there's a stud broke off in this lower bolt hole down here. So we are going to have to, I totally forgot about it till just now when I was sitting here looking at this. We are going to have to try everything we can to get this this bolt out of there. So it looks like it's broke off pretty clean. Maybe I can, maybe we can get lucky and we can clean that little spot up and possibly weld a nut to it. Only problem is that it's kind of broke off inside the hole. Usually when you're doing that weld a bolt thing to it, you want something sticking out of the hole or at least broke off flush with the hole. So we may try that, or it's going to have to be drilled out and possibly tapped, or easy out it and then run a tap through it, whatever. But we got to get that bolt out of there before we get too much of this like assembled for final installation, because that is going to be a problem later when I want to mount our new bracket setup to it, because it utilizes both of these lower holes. And the one hole, like you can see the bolt screws into it, but you see how it's got a little wibble wobble to it, and it's because like what my guess is that this bolt broke, and then the belt may have gotten wrapped up in there when that broke, and then it pulled down on this bolt, stretching this hole and cracking the block. So we need to get that cleaned up so that we have this hole to use to put strength back into everything that we're going to be doing. If like I said, I'm pretty sure it uses the power steering or the water pump bolts as well. So if we have 3 good bolts holding everything good and tight, then this 4th one we don't have to be concerned about. I mean, we'll still have a bolt in it, but we don't have to be concerned about that one holding everything together. So so that's something else that we're gonna have to do here shortly. But I think right now I'm gonna put the core support back on, and then I may set the fenders back on, and then I think we're gonna kind of clean up then after that. Put the engine hoist away, roll the transmission back over here, put the headers back over here, clean up my mess from today. So let's go ahead and get to that, because I only got like 20 minutes till I want to go work on this other project. So for being in my own shop, I kind of have a time schedule for everything. So let's get to it. Ow. Now we gotta be a little bit more careful putting these fenders on now. That's why I haven't put them on yet, because we got some paint up here, and I don't want to keep putting the fenders on and off and on and off, and scratching up our paint. So we're going to be careful with doing this. I want to put them back on for now. They're probably going to come on and off a bunch of different times, but I keep tripping over them, and I've almost knocked them over a couple times. So let's just put them back on for now. Plus, I want to see how high this sticks up over the top of everything, you can already see that there's there's no way that the hood is gonna clear that. I'm gonna put this door back on over here too. We've had that door off for a while. But I need Colleen for that. And she's actually on a meeting at the moment, so we're not gonna be doing that tonight. Yeah, there's no way that is gonna clear a stock hood. No way. Me personally, I like it like that, and I would like to just no hood or Holland ducted hood. But she says she wants it to be sleek and smooth, and she wants it to kind of look like other than the wheels on it, she wants it to look stock. So yeah, we'll figure it out. I think what we may have to do is either order a whole new setup for that, or take this setup off of there and put this setup on. So because with that setup on there, I bet it would clear. So, and I was also thinking as well, like we were talking about making those plates for the motor mounts. I told you that like 3 of the 4 we have bolted down, but that 4th one hangs off the edge of the frame. That video that I watched today, that's how they did it. So I was talking about doing that plate. I came out here earlier before I turned the camera on, and I tried to put bolts through that 4th hole, just to see if I was to make a plate, would that be accessible to be able to put bolts down through that. And the one side, yes, no problem, it's tight. But I think, if we welded a nut to the bottom of the 1/8 inch plate, then we could bolt it down. The other side, the passenger side, is actually covering like half the hole with the frame. So can't even drill a hole through that one. What we would have to do is we would have to like cut part of that frame out and box it just so that we could get a bolt in it. And I'm not going through all that. People have been putting 350s in these cars for, I mean, how many, 50 years, almost 50 years. And this thing's an 81, it's 25. So 81 to 2000, that's 19 years, and then 25 for 44 years. People have been putting 350s in these cars, and I highly doubt they're reinventing the wheel to put these motors in. I guarantee you nobody is using that 4th hole. So I think we're just gonna leave that. Like I said, I seen a video that's how they did it, and I guarantee you that's how everybody else is doing it as well. So I think that's just gonna stay the way that it is. Only way that it would change is if we got to move that motor forward for the transmission and the drive shaft and everything to be in the correct spot. Because it does look like we have, you know, we have plenty of room. Like, you know, there's going to be a radiator in here, and then I was looking, I have a real nice fan to put on here, not a factory fan, it's an aftermarket fan that we can put on here. I also have this electric one down here, which came off of this motor. Now, we wouldn't use this aluminum crap. I would get some of those zip tie strap things that are for the fans that go through the radiator, if we were going to use that. So we still got a long ways to go with this car, but hopefully, you know, it'll be coming together, you know, I don't want to say fairly quick, but, you know, I'm hoping over the next 6 to 8 months, you know, we should be pretty close to, at the very least, being able to, you know, maybe take it for a ride. You know, we got to get new doors and new quarters for it, which I got to finish the Jeep first, because once the Jeep is finished, then I can afford to buy those. And then we got to get new suspension for the front, and we're gonna have to get new brake stuff front and back. So and then we got to get some wheels and tires for it too. But once we get the doors and the quarters, you know, we'll start knocking all the body work out on this and get this thing painted. And then, you know, if we can get the suspension and the brakes done, then we could actually, you know, we can throw a seat in this thing and actually drive it, and maybe go hit some cruise nights or something. But, you know, we'll still have a lot of work to do, because we still need to, you know, we still got to put a dashboard in it somehow. We got to get new interior for it, blah, 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 blah. Lots of stuff to do. But I'm hoping maybe this upcoming summer, like, you know, it'll at least be movable. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. You know, the motor's in. It's been a long time coming. Well, tune in next week, see what we do. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. I'm out.